Hello, all you lovely, lovely people. Hello, you lovely, lovely people. I hope you had a great Valentine's Day. Hope you had a great theater experience seeing the Batman, because by the time this video comes, what's today's date? I don't even know. It's like the 28th maybe or something like that. I don't know. By the time this video comes out, Batman's probably been out. So yeah, that's gonna be fun to watch. But today we're not here to talk about Batman, surprisingly. No, today we're actually here to talk about Assassin's Creed, the first one. So recently I played through this game, top to bottom, kind of. I'll get more into that later, but I completed the story. Towards the end of the story, I started to do all 6 investigations, but earlier on, I was only doing like 3. But I did go back actually and 100% complete all those different investigations in the mission. So that was cool. I basically have 100% completed the story then, I guess you could say. Basically, what this video is going to be just a quick review of it. I don't really have that much to say on it. So right off the bat, play this game if you haven't. I got it on sale for, I want to say $5, maybe cheaper than that, on Steam recently, because I buy all my Steam games on sale because I'm smart with the money, not necessarily making it, but spending. With all that being said, let's just get into the actual game. Why do I think you should buy it? Because it's a fun game, and I think it leads well into the rest of the series. So gameplay is something I just want to touch on briefly, because if you played an Assassin's Creed game, you probably know how the gameplay works. It's made up of parkour, stealth, and combat. Except here in this game. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. I kind of, how do I put it lightly, suck at this game. I played this game on mouse and keyboard. The only other Assassin's Creed game that I've actually played myself is Black Flag, which I used a controller for. I probably could use a control on this game. I plugged in my controller. It didn't work. I was like, you know what, heck with it, I'm just gonna use mouse and keyboard, why not? So I played it with mouse and keyboard. That is just, I guess, factor that into what you're seeing here. But I did not do very well in the stealth. Now, I've never done that great in Black Flag either, but I think the problem with the stealth here, compared to something like Black Flag, in Black Flag, the enemies had the little detection things that had to, like, charge up, right, for them to detect you. So here, they see you, and they detect you. If you're on a rooftop, an archer might take a little bit to detect you, but if you're in, like, an area you're not supposed to be, or something like that, it's very quick to get into combat instead of stealth. And this plays into a lot of the gameplay you'll be seeing here isn't stealth based. You can sneak up behind enemies, of course, and assassinate them, but for the most part, the stealth would be consisting of pickpocketing, I guess eavesdropping, and I guess sneaking up to your assassin target. But even for a lot of the assassin targets, like, the main baddies, the whole sequence afterwards, you just talking to them and everything, I think the problem with this is that you're supposed to be the stealthy assassin. And earlier on, when you're talking to, like, I think it's Malik in Jerusalem, you get back after the assassination, and he's like, oh no, I heard you did great in the assassination. In fact, the whole city knows, and he's mad because naturally the assassins aren't supposed to be detected, supposed to do stuff stealthily. But then by the end of the game, it was still a problem, and you didn't really get much stealth. Now, in something like Black Flag, if you know the combat in that game, it's something. So in that era of Assassin's Creed, so after this era of the first few games, but then before the new RPG-esque ones, you had this counter kill system. So basically, right after you countered an enemy, you could kill them, you could throw them, disarm them if you yourself were disarmed. Basically, if I were to describe Black Flag's combat system, I'd say it's all about the spectacle of it and not actually the challenge. Here, the combat is a lot harder, and dare I say unresponsive, but once again, this is my personal experience with the game. It might vary from person to person. Maybe I just suck. A lot of times, my counter kill would not work, and I don't mean so basically, if you have the hidden blade selected and you counter kill, obviously you unlock the counter kill later on in the game, but it's an instant kill. You will kill the person. If you have the short blade or the sword, it might work. Like, if there's a specific, I couldn't really tell if there were enemy classes in this game, if I'm being completely honest with you. I mean, obviously there's the archers and then the swordsmen, and there were the dudes with more armor and stuff, but I don't know if they were necessarily harder to beat, because for some people that were just wearing barely any armor, some people that were wearing a lot of armor, but more commonly it was the people that were wearing more armor, my counter kills wouldn't really kill them. It would just kind of, he'd counter them and kind of push them away, almost as if did the same sort of animation as a throw, or like if you counter an enemy's grab and then throw them. So basically, I'm not talking about that. I'm not sure why that happens sometimes. I guess because the hidden blade is weaker on the attack, so they want to give it more benefits for defense. I'm not really quite sure what happened there, but that's not what I'm talking about when I say the counter kill sometimes wouldn't work. Sometimes I call him Edward. Altair would be blocking, and his blocks would work, but then you kind of break your block. Like you basically are saying, yeah, I'm gonna exit my block going for the counterattack. But you need to time it right so that their blade is coming down on you, the enemy's blade is coming down on you as you trigger your counterattack. And so on mouse and keyboard, how that is right click to block, and then like defensive stance, and then left click to counterattack when their blade's coming down. And the problem is that sometimes the timing would be off on that, and then not Edward, Altair would like stop his how do I put it? Like he basically leave his blocking stance to try to like move his sword for the counterattack, and then they'd attack immediately afterwards, and then they'd hit me because I didn't get to my blocking stance yet. The problem is, I'd like to think I was fairly good because a lot of the time, I'd say the majority of the time, my counterattacks would work. So the problem I think is here is not on me. I think it's just the game sometimes wouldn't work. Sometimes it was me. I'm not gonna say that it's not, but I think just overall the timing for the counterattack window was a little bit strange on the game's part. Again, this is my personal experience. But overall, though, combat outside of that it's fun. They tried to add a lot of layers to it that I just don't think worked. For example, the break enemies defense, where you step towards them and then attack. Overall, the step just felt really pointless. But the step towards them, then click to attack, just like breaking their defense. It just wait for a counterattack window, or just, like if you're good enough with the counterattacks, just have the hidden blade and then do that, because that's the easiest way to kill people, or to throw them and then they hit a wall or on the ground or something, and then just hidden blade assassinate them while they're on the ground. It was really cheap and really easy to do that. And like I said, the combat, it has a lot of layers to it. It just, I feel like the stuff like the step and then attack, the stuff like the throw, I didn't really use. I basically used counter kill, attack, and then the heavy attack. But I didn't even use the heavy attack that much once I had the counter kill and stuff like that. And the throw I'd use if I wanted to assassinate someone else on the ground or throw them off a rooftop. But really, other than the grab, break, counter attack, and then your two like types of attacks, I wouldn't use, except for throw sometimes with the hidden blade selected. So I think they had a good idea going here, and it is a very in-depth combat system. It just, I think, again, my timing personally was maybe bad, or maybe it was more on the game. But I think that overall, I can safely say that the combat here had a good idea, and it was pretty good for the most part, but it didn't go all the way with it. And I think it could have been a lot better than it was. I'm not sure how exactly to articulate it, but that's basically, yeah, they had a lot of moves planned out, and I just think they didn't put them to good enough use. I think they could have been done better and been more necessary to use. Like the throw, for example, I think maybe there are some enemies you have to throw first to break their defense and then go charge after them, or something like that. I think would have worked better. But on the terms, in terms of weapons and stuff like that, I think, yeah, it's good. The sword obviously is good. The second sword you get, that's design is really cool. Same with the short blade. The first and second designs are really cool. Throwing knives, I like how you get more and more as you progress. Well, first you unlock them, and then you get more and more as you progress. And I also like it's very visible. Cosmetically, you see Altair getting more and more armored up, kind of, in a sense, I guess. Yeah, once he gets his short blade on his back, he just looks like he has a lot more than throwing knives on his back and stuff like that. And since you're looking at him from the back, you notice all that stuff more than anything on his front would. So yeah, I think it looks really cool. And the reason that I think this game works so well is because the combat is built so well. But I think the problem is that then stealth is just, there's no point to stealth. A lot of times for the assassinations, there was like once or twice the dude that's like in his castle, the one that like is planning to betray Richard or whatever. It felt so cool. I snuck down behind him. I like remembered all the different investigations I'd done, so I was like, all right, and then I'm gonna come down this way. I'm gonna sneak down behind him after everyone leaves him, and he's gonna like go sulk in his quarters, right? And I snuck down behind him, creeped up behind him, stabbed him, got the quarter sequence, and then I was just detected immediately afterwards. Because all the other ones, I'd been like, yeah, straight up engaging in open combat. Sometimes I'd try for a stealthy approach, but it won't work out well. There's no restart button. So I'm like, heck with it, just go ahead and do the thing. It's not like optional objectives like stay out of combat or anything. But then this time I was like, wait, what? I was stealthy and I still got detected. So I just felt kind of annoying and upsetting. And that getaway felt cool because I jumped off the castle walls into like a haystack. then kept running and everything like that. It was really cool. But for the most part, though, you just kind of just kill the dude, and then you run away, and then you kind of just hide, and it's very anticlimactic after you kill them. Not only is killing them anticlimactic if you took too long, it just after the fight, and then you kill them, get the quarter sequence, which the quarter sequence always bugs me because I'm like, you're in the middle of a thing. And I get like it looks different. It's not like you're just sitting there, so the guard's just standing there. Like I get that you're in this like trance thing or whatever, but it's just weird. I don't get how it works. So that's kind of strange. But and you don't get that with everyone you kill. It's just like your main target. So I don't exactly get how that works. But yeah, and then you just run away and hide, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go run away, hide in a haystack or a roof garden or a bench or something like that. I'm like, after you had this epic mission, and then you're just gone. But although the ending might be a little anticlimactic, everything leading up to it is great. When you actually go to the place for the assassination, your health bar, and it'll just become like a lot more cinematic. Everything goes away, the hub and everything like that, and you're just like walking. You can't run or anything like that. Which is kind of annoying for the one you have to like. It's on a roof. You have to like walk down these stairs and then go to like the left or whatever, and then watch him as like the book burning guys, and then he throws the one guy in the fire. That was a little bit frustrating, having to walk that long, but it is very cinematically shot, and I think that adds to it. And then hearing them like monologue before you go and kill them and stuff is very cool and very fun. It's just the ending kind of falls a little flat for those missions. And I wish that you could do them stealthily, and that was encouraged to be stealthy. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times it isn't stealthy. But and it is kind of a nice thing that they give you the option to be stealthy. So then I think the twist was like Robert du Sable. I have spoilers for this game, but with him being like the girl and everything, like what? Or she's like standing in for him. That part where they like detect you and point you out at the funeral, it's like, oh, they caught him. But the thing is that usually, I mean, they don't detect you before the mission, but by the time you actually go to assassinate them, for me, a lot of times they just detect me and then run away, and I have to chase them down. So it wasn't really that big of a deal that they recognized me that time, and then attacked me right away instead of letting me get the drop on them. Because I'm like, well, usually I don't get the drop on them anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. Other than like that one guy that I snuck behind in like his little castle thing. So yeah, stealth could have been greatly improved. Combat was fun though, so stealth being ruined a lot of the time. The fight wasn't ruined, because the combat was still fun afterwards. The assassination missions had a good idea, but that's all the structure of the story is. I'll get into the story in a second, but just final thoughts on the combat and the base gameplay. Parkour is something I didn't really touch on. I think that's really fun, especially after you get the ledge grab. Going back and replaying the missions for the investigations, I thought you still kept your upgrades. I read that somewhere, but I guess you don't. It was really frustrating not having that ledge grab because I didn't realize how much I was really using. I was like, wow, he'll just hit a ledge and just fall. I'm like, thanks a lot, buddy. But so that was really useful. And parkour is a lot better here than it was in Black Flag, because I think the environment facilitates it better. Than like even Havana, it's just like all you're doing is just running on the rooftops. Here, the buildings I think just blend together better, and just getting up to buildings, the verticality of it all. They'd go a lot higher than in Black Flag, and I don't know. It was just I liked parkour here more than Black Flag, but I also think my skill improved a lot more while playing this game than it did in Black Flag. And going back to Black Flag, I think I'm definitely gonna use some of the new stuff I learned here. Just kind of like I've never really used like I guess rappelling like off of a wall, like jumping behind you. I didn't use that much here, but going to the left and right, that helps so much here. And going back to play some Black Flag, since I played this game, I used that a little bit, and it definitely did help. So parkour here, I think, is a really great start to the series. Combat here, I think, is a really great start to the series, and it's definitely stuff that would be improved on later. So looking back at it, I very much like this, and I think it's a great step in the right direction, a great start to a great series. I cannot say the same for the story. The story here is very basic, and it has a lot of good ideas, but it doesn't execute them all. I don't want to say at all, but there are only a few things here that I can genuinely say I was immersed with and interested to see what would happen. Going after every assassination, you go back to Al Mualim. I will say this: the beginning of this game is a nice start, and then from there, it's just you go and you do the assassination missions. You go back to Al Mualim. You're like, oh man, Al Mualim, like these guys, they had a good point. They thought that what they were doing is right, and then Al Mualim will kind of like be like, he'll have different reasons to say they're wrong. So it's basically like, oh, well, they're people that can't be trusted anyways. There's like, of course they're gonna say that. Then also be like, oh no, yeah, I know that they are kind of fighting for the same thing as us, but they're going about it the wrong way. And this is kind of nice stuff to show the Templars aren't necessarily evil. They're fighting for the same thing as the Assassins. They're just going about it different ways. The Assassins go to extreme measures. They kill people, a lot of people. The Templars, they kill less people than the Assassins probably, but they also they're controlling people's lives, and they're kind of trying to control everything too much. And so they're both fighting for peace and everything like that. They both kind of want to end the Crusades. They're going about it two different ways. And this is a good way of showing that, hey, the Templars aren't all bad, but the Assassins maybe are more right. This all falls apart because Al-Mualim himself is a Templar. And the problem here is that we had such a great thing going. I get that he kind of betrayed the Templars too. He's kind of his own like third party, but everything he's saying we're kind of agreeing with, aren't we? Like, I call me insane and evil, but like every time we talk to him after an assassination, I think he's bringing up pretty good points. I don't agree with completely with everything he's saying, but I think for the most part, though, he's got a good idea. And then, are we just supposed to not believe him now that he's evil? Like that, it kind of just falls apart, I think. And Al-Mualim being evil, it's a twist. I saw it coming though, and so throughout, maybe if you didn't know it, that it was coming, but I knew that it was gonna happen. I knew that he was evil going into the game. So playing throughout the game, I'm just like, this guy's supposed to be evil? He doesn't sound that evil, and then he's just evil at the end. Like, yeah, he's not the nicest dude ever, but like I think it was kind of a twist for the sake of being a twist. I really expected Malik to die. I'm happy that he didn't, but something with Malik. Actually, while playing through this game, I think I'd maybe already finished it. Maybe I hadn't yet, but I think I hadn't yet actually, but I watched a review of this game, and on YouTube, and they mentioned Malik, and I was like, oh, he's the one dude? Wait, what happened with him? He was like, yeah, I'm glad that they reconciled. I'm very stupid, alright? I'm not gonna act like I'm not, but it really frustrates me that I couldn't tell who Malik was, because they introduced him at the beginning of the game, but because of the way this game is shot, there aren't these big cinematic angles most of the time, or really any of the time, like maybe once or twice, and so everything is kind of bland. Everyone seems the same. So Malik, he loses his arm, but you don't, like when you meet him and he's the borough leader, that's after the whole Solomon Temple thing. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was the dude from Solomon's Temple, because there, his arm was all bloody when he came back, but you didn't, like, know that he lost his arm and everything, so it was kind of weird. So knowing that going into the ending, their whole, like, makeup scene, where he's like, no, I cannot forgive you, Altair, because you're not the same person that went in the temple with me, it hit a lot different knowing that, but it was hard to tell that, because they just really, it's not shot with much personality. I guess it's a video game, not a movie, but it seemed, it had a lot of good ideas going in the story, and they all just kind of fell flat, because I think of the gameplay and the mission structure, and I think it's a great start to what ends up becoming one of the best-selling game series of all time, that is known for a lot of its stories, especially earlier on. People criticize a lot of the gameplay of something like Black Flag, but they'll be like, it has an amazing story, though. And this here, I think, had good gameplay that could be improved upon. Good ideas in its story, but because of the design and the structure of the game and the missions, didn't work very well. But I think that at the end of the day, this is a game worth playing to be able to play the later games and say, wow, they've come a long way, but they had a great beginning too. I'd say if I were to just play this game and experience some combat, do some parkour and stuff, I'd love it. If I were to watch this game as a movie, I would not like it. But I think the story is basically there to have some cool ideas and cool themes, and to support having the gameplay. It's a very fun game. I definitely recommend checking it out. If you haven't already, I'm assuming you have, honestly. I'd say the majority of Assassin's Creed fans have played this game. But, so yeah, go check it out. Go replay it if you've already played it. And I'm curious to know what you guys think about stuff like Al-Mualim, and just the way the game is shot, and just kind of, because it seems to have not really much personality in a lot of places. I think that's really what dragged this game down a lot for me, personally at least. Something I do want to touch on very, very quickly is that the collectibles are not very good. The flags are so hard to find, and they never tell you about them. I just came across one. I was like doing one of those like investigations for collecting the flags, and I just came across one, and it was like I thought that was one of the flags, and then later I realized it wasn't. But it was just weird because like I don't know. It's weird. Like the flags, they don't pop on the map. You can't like go talk to someone that will then reveal the locations or something like that. And by golly, I just take me back to the Anarchy tags and Cyrus Pinky plaques in Arkham Origins. There's nothing I dislike more in video games, I'd say. I mean, there's maybe a few things, but collectibles that don't pop up on the map are just like, how are you supposed to 100% complete the game without like? There are people on YouTube, yeah, that will tell you the locations, but A, it takes out the fun of finding them yourself, and B, how much time do you think those people spend doing this? I mean, it's very hard to find these things hidden in every nook and cranny, and then it's just very frustrating. And they're spread out all over the place. It's not broken down by like districts or anything like that in each of the cities or like in the kingdom. It's very frustrating finding these things. The Templars to kill are at least like a fun little fight. I just kill them with the hidden blade. Just counter kill, or is it, sometimes I throw them into water. It's fun to find different ways to kill them, but for the most part though, I'd say this game is worth your time. I'd recommend playing it. And just yeah, overall I think this is a game that was, for me, fun. I don't like giving scores to stuff. If I have to rate this like 7 out of 10, like it's a good fun game, but the story really I don't think is that good. It tried to be though. I can tell there's a lot of effort that went into here, and there's a lot of cool ideas that they have. The gameplay, same thing, good idea. I feel like a broken record here because there's not really that much to say about this game, other than that it was a foundation for other stuff. I know this isn't Uncharted, but it was greatness from small beginnings, and yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think about this and just Assassin's Creed as a whole, the current state of it, and stuff like that. Yeah, this video is going on for a lot longer than I want it to be, so I'll just wrap up. I've been trying to get the Jurassic World video out, but it keeps on getting copyright claimed. I'm trying like everything in my power to just get rid of the dang copyright claims. It's very hard to do. It's very frustrating too because I think I'm using it fair usably, but it's just a trailer, so I really don't think it should be that hard to use. But it keeps on getting copyright claims, so I'm trying to get that out, and then hopefully this will be out soon too. But this video, I want it to be like 8 minutes. It's over 20 right now. I might cut it down a little bit. But yeah, so with all that being said, thanks for all the support, especially on that Star Wars video. I don't know how well the Jurassic World video or this video is going to do, with that Star Wars video did insanely well, so thank you for that. So all that being said, have a great day and keep being awesome.